welcome to the one and only Nikita Tszyu.
G'day guys, how are we doing? Welcome to Talking Boxing. It is Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025. Yes, this is taking place on a Tuesday. Of course, normally it's on a Monday, but just got off the plane this morning and on the way home from the airport, I thought, you know what? I'm gonna do an episode tonight. I know there might be a few people that aren't overly happy that I haven't overly advertised it, but I thought with everything that's gone on over the weekend with Tim and Manny and everything else, Dubois and Usyk and everything else, that we would have a bit of a get together tonight with a little bit of a twist. It's not the normal Talking Boxing where we go through all the comments. I'll try and get to as many as I can. But I've got a couple of guests tonight that I really enjoy talking boxing with because I really know their stuff. I'll bring them in now. I'm referring to Daniel Smart from Max Boxing and Anthony Cox from The Ring Magazine. How are we, guys?
Yeah, going well, Lynden. Yourself? Welcome back home.
Yeah, no, thank you, mate. It was a great trip. The two shows in New York and then the one in Vegas. It was a fantastic weekend. But I'm really keen to get your feedback tonight, guys. And Anthony, I'm sure with the Ring Magazine, you got a lot to talk about, especially including your employer having a crack at Timmy.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. The way he jumped out the gates and then very quickly deleted that post.
It was very quick.
I've got to dance around a little bit on. On this one, I didn't think it was the best way to sort of reply to that. I certainly know that Turkey Al Sheikh was very keen to have Tim on his shows over there in Riyadh season. Didn't think it was the right way to respond to it though.
No, I don't think so. And wasn't Tim? He was on the Crawford and Madrimov card originally, wasn't he? Before he had the complications with the head.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So yeah, look, I think Turkey realised that he was probably pushing shit uphill on that one. Now it's okay to have an opinion, but you know,
he copped a bit of backlash, didn't he?
He did indeed, and as far as I know, it's the only post he's actually deleted.
Yeah. Well, normally he holds his ground.
He normally holds his ground. He said a bit of wild shit, but on that one he went, maybe not.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, well, I don't think he would have expected the backlash. Now, Dan, I want to get your thoughts first of all. Like, of course, we'll get to Tim. That's the main reason we're here, and so many opinions have come out in the last 24 hours, including myself. I had my say. I just thought I'd do a quick video with LAX and ended up going for nearly 40 minutes. I just kept going and going and going. And I've seen the Jeff Fennick interview. I want to get your opinion about that as well. But so much going on. But first of all, give me your thoughts on the fights the previous weekend with the girls' fights, Serrano Taylor, and also Belunga and Shiraz. Just a quick summation of what you thought of that of both of those events.
Yeah, look, I thought the women's card was absolutely phenomenal, Lynden. I thought the whole production, the fights from top to bottom were really good. I mean, you know, probably the main 3 or 4 that really stood out, obviously. But look, they were fantastic, and congratulations to our very own Chanika Johnson too. She performed extremely well. You know, I don't think I've seen a box better than that fight. You know, she come forward with real purpose and real intent and absolutely destroyed her opponent. So congratulations, Chanika, and well done.
And what about the following night with Shiraz and Belunga?
Yeah, well, Belunga's obviously learned a valuable lesson. Keep your mouth shut.
It's been a thing I've always based my life on, mate. If you talk it up, you got to back it up.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And he didn't back it up, mate. Hamza Shiraz showed that he was a cut above and destroyed him accordingly. And I don't think there was too many people that were too sorry to see the result.
No, not at all. What about you, Anthony? What did you make of the two big fight nights in New York?
Look, both beautiful. People can say what they want about Jake Paul, but what he's done for female boxing, I think, is phenomenal.
Mm.
And I know you've had Shanika Johnson on your shows, which is probably where I first saw her as a pro. Lynden, maybe 4 or 5 or 6 fights into her pro career.
No, I think I promoted her first 8. I think it was. I can't remember exactly, but it was her first 8. It was a fair few. It might have even been more. I was actually just looking through a few cards the other day, and there was one actual event where I had Jai Pataya, the 2 Maloneys, and Shanika Johnson all on the same card. Can you believe that? 4 world champions on the same card. And Tim Tszyu was actually supposed to be on that card as well and pulled out a week before with a sprained ankle or something. So could have been a card of the ages, that one.
That was the very first card that I saw Shanika Johnson on. Also, the first time I interviewed Tim Tszyu, by the way, and the first time I saw Jai Opetaia live.
That's right, because he came down for the event, didn't he, Tim? Even though he didn't fight. Glenn said, no, we'll support the event and come down.
Yeah, he did. He did his ankle running, going, I'm going to keep running, and ran like a marathon and did his ankle. Yeah, but still came down and did with
Glenn.
With Glenn Jennings, who's a great man who also used to work with Kostya, obviously, and I remember him from working with Kostya. That's how old I am. But yeah, that was the first time I saw Shanika fight, and that was the first time I saw Jai Opetaia fight live.
Just he made a mess too. Was it? What was his name? Freddie? Was it Cruz? What was his name?
Sanchez, maybe.
I can't remember, but either way, it was very quickly forgotten after that because Jai got him out of there in about a round, I think it was, and I remember Virgin Hall being out of him. Yeah. So, and what about Hamza Shiraz, mate? A pretty impressive performance over Edgar Berlanga.
Look, that right hand from Shiraz is just something beautiful, and he's so mature beyond his years in terms of he doesn't rush himself. He doesn't. Berlanga, I don't really. When I say I don't really rate, I think he's there and thereabouts. But the way Shiraz set up that right hand and didn't rush his work and knew it was going to be there if he timed it right. It's a bit of a shallow division, but if you had to look to the future, you say, well, this guy is the future in not just in that division, but he's a big boy. He'll go to 168 and so or 175 and keep kicking on from there. I think he has a great ring IQ, I reckon.
He's a big guy too. I cannot believe that he was fighting at 160. Just amazing. What do you make of it, Dan? Because I mean, he even at 160. What was it at 168? He looked like he was a bloody cruiserweight.
Yeah, he looked big, didn't he? Yeah, he looked. Jesus, watching it on TV, mate, he looked 10, 15 pounds heavier.
Yeah, he did. He's a big guy.
Yeah, and he just crucified him, and his size was, it'd be interesting to see how many weight divisions he can actually go up before he's done.
All right, we'll stick with you, Dan. We'll obviously now get to the weekend's fights, and I can't believe it. We'll just put Manny Pacquiao to the side for a second and talk about Tim Tszyu, because as I said, look, being over there for the week. I was only in Vegas for 4 days, I think it was. And it was great over there, and I saw the team and that over there. It was fantastic. And I actually thought that Tim, I got just a quick photo with him while I was there. I thought he looked in really, really good condition. I think physically wise, he was good, and even mentally, he looked okay. But geez, when that fight started, I don't know. It was even just the ring walk. I don't know what you thought. To me, he just still looked a little bit off. He looked a little bit distracted. I know we're all trying to make up trying to think of all the reasons why this could have possibly happened. And in the day, Sebastian Fundora was the reason. But I just remember, because I was really close to him when he walked out. I was right on the race there, and I remember thinking he just doesn't looks like there's no fire in the eyes, if that makes sense. What did you make of it watching on TV back here?
Yeah, it was a strange one. Yeah, I probably didn't get a good look at the ring walk as such, but I mean when he hopped in there, I mean look, he looked super relaxed and he looked confident, and I thought, well, perhaps he knows what he has to do, and they've got a good game plan. If he follows it, you get the job done. But I mean, sadly, we all saw he just didn't. Whatever the game plan was, it wasn't clear to me. I mean, trying to hook from the outside is a very bad idea against someone with a 200 centimetre reach. And unfortunately, he tried to do that in the first round. He got countered and he got dropped. So if there was a game plan, it just wasn't clear to me what it was. You can try. People can say, yeah, all right, get underneath him. I guess it's easier said than done when Fundora has got a 10-inch reach advantage on you. When he's constantly throwing shots. It puts doubt and fear in the mind of the opponent about walking straight into one. So that can mess with your mind too. And full credit to Fundora's team, they'd done their homework. They knew that their punch output had to be a lot higher than what it was the last time, because it gave Tim time and space to get in underneath him and to counter him. Whereas this time he didn't. He just kept throwing shots, and the accumulation of those shots are eventually what got to Tim in the end.
Yeah, I must admit, I was surprised at the start how aggressive that Sebastian Fundora was. And like you said, they've obviously done their homework, and you could see right from the word go that Sebastian Fundora had a purpose. He had the mission. He knew what he was supposed to do. He took center ring. We know he throws a lot of punches anyway, but he really took center ring and really put Tim on the back foot. Whereas from Tim, I didn't really see anything new that we'd seen in the first fight. I watched the first fight in full the day before, and I was thinking, well, this is just pretty much round 13 from Tim, not so much from Sebastian, who really come out with purpose. Anthony, what did you think when that left hook landed and Tim Tszyu hit the canvas?
I think Tim was expecting it to be the same fight, whereas Fundora had a lot of time to I hate the word or phrase retool, but he's obviously got the reach and the range, and he loves fighting inside, and he went from that sort of inside fight to that long range, mid range fight that I think really confused Timmy, and Timmy was sitting very flat-footed, just trying to find that counter, and when he got dropped, probably the biggest surprise to me was just how I hate the word chinny, and I don't think Tim's chinny, but it took him a long time to recover. Took him a long time to recover, and even when he did, he was still even when he was sort of getting back through those mid rounds and having some great moments, he was never really in the fight. He was taking damage himself, and he just stood flat-footed against the ropes and was waiting for that one-shot counter, and I think the biggest difference is Fundora changed his range and went, I can fight a little bit closer, I can fight a little bit wider, and he's still going to have to come to me. And Tim's defense is basically parrying. It's the gloves out here, try a parry shot, counter over the top.
Yeah,
and without having that foot movement and being flat-footed there, well, that kind of worked in the first fight for the first 4 rounds. But I think Fundora's a guy who's improved since that first fight by a margin, whereas Tim has flattened out. And when I saw Tim as a kid, when I say as a kid, turning pro and things like that, handful of amateur fights, whatever, coming through, he always improved. And I think he's flatlined now. I don't see any difference between Tim now and Tim a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Dan, we know that Tim usually has that, or the Russian type of style, where it's a pretty stand-up type of style, and there's not a lot of head movement stuff. But were you like me, where I was thinking, well, what if you're trying to reverse the result of the first one? How are we going to do that at Sebastian Fundora's range, not moving your head at all? How are you supposed to win this fight? Because I said in my little review yesterday, he was pulling straight back in a straight line backwards, where I would have been sort of coming forward and to the side to try and get outside those shoulders, but he was just moving straight back, and just in general play, I suppose you'd call it, just at Sebastian Fundora's length. And like Anthony said, I mean, there was a 10-inch reach advantage. What hope are you giving yourself to try and get in and do some damage?
Yeah, I agree. And I know last time we sort of spoke about Tim on this show was, when I was asked, what does he have to do, with this rematch with Fundora, and I said not much, and I was completely wrong. He had to do a hell of a lot more, and I think the key to him getting a victory was getting in and getting out, getting in, throwing shots, landing, and then getting back out. I don't know, mate. Like I said, I was really perplexed by that fight. There didn't appear to be a game plan at all, or a B or a C. He just got destroyed. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes from here. If he decides to go on, he needs to make a change. And whatever that change is, that's completely up to him. I'm not going to speculate what that is. I'm not inside his camp. I don't know their thought processes, but he has to change something, whether that be his team or whether that be his fighting style. And of course, when you've grown up with that Russian fighting style that, he's probably had instilled into him when he was a boy, when his father was, adopting the same style, that's going to be very hard to infiltrate. That's going to be very hard to change. That's right. So he's going to have to do that, or he's going to have to change his teammate. So if he's going to go on, because if he's going on and nothing changes, you're just going to keep getting the same results.
Yeah, we'll get to his team a little bit later, but Anthony, as the fight went on, I sort of seen that. I mean, Tim obviously the first knockdown took the wind out of his sails a little bit, and he really struggled to get back into the fight. But I thought he actually got back into the fight rounds probably 4, 5, and 6, and especially 7. I thought he really upped the pace. But to me, there just didn't seem to be any method behind it. It was just put the head down and pretty much just let the haymakers go and hope one lands. I know the reach difference and the height difference and everything else, but I was really surprised that calm, cool, calculated guy, the killer that we've seen from Tim in the past, when he was under the pump, it all just went out the window, and it was just pretty much put the head down and swing for the fences.
Yeah, and honestly, I thought he probably edged those last 3 rounds, and it was getting better. But as a boxer, Lynden, just because you won a round doesn't mean you haven't taken punishment. But for all the talk of I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, I'm going to have, I'll unify this division, I'll move up to middleweight, I'll unify that, and I'll do the same at 168. When push came to shove, it got too hard for him, and I think the ambition was probably bigger than what he could achieve in terms of not focusing on that singular fight. It was all about having that brand name, being able to move on and walk through what is one of the deepest divisions in boxing, if not the deepest division in boxing. I mean, you've got so many fighters there that are so good and so much quality there. I don't know If he didn't beat Fundora, it's a very difficult way back for him.
Yeah, no, 100%. Well, Dan, let's just I suppose address the what the proverbial elephant in the room about what everyone's been saying in the last 24 hours, and that's Tim quit. Now I've had my say on it, and I can speak, I suppose, from experience about actually having been a boxer, and obviously not at that level, but I know what these guys go through, so I feel I'm a little educated to discuss it and have an opinion, and there's no way he quit. I think I put it as more retired. But I suppose the armchair experts out there today have all been about him quitting, and I'm not saying they're right or wrong, whatever. Well, maybe I am. I'm just giving my opinion. What do you think? What do you think that? And I know he's been compared to Costa as well, which I think is a little bit unfair as well, because that was a grueling 11 rounds he had against Ricky Hatton and just had nothing left either. But where do you see it? What's your opinion? Do you see Tim as a quitter or just someone that just couldn't offer any more?
No, of course I don't see Tim as a quitter. That's, anybody who says he just quit that's just rubbish. I think people that, are sitting in their armchairs or the lounge suites at home having a look at it and go, I just quit, should go do a boxing class for 15 minutes and see if they come out sharing the same opinion.
Yep.
That's ridiculous. I mean, look, I think I'd probably agree with you. I think he retired. I think he knew there wasn't much more he could do. Tim's recently married. He's probably got kids on the horizon. What you got to remember is that these guys are putting their lives on the line for our enjoyment. Okay, so a little bit of humanity needs to come into it, I think. And look, people that just say he quit and he's weak as water and this sort of thing. It's just garbage. I mean, seriously, it's an uneducated opinion. And honestly, go and have one fight, let alone fighting for world titles on the biggest stages in the world. There's a lot of pressure that comes with that. And I just think Tim thought there wasn't much more he could do. And he's like you said, I just think he's maybe retired. And I said, well, look, I want to live to fight another day. I've thrown everything I possibly can at this guy, and he's not going anywhere. Look, I'm not saying it wasn't what I'm saying is it was a poor performance. I'm saying that it was a poor performance, but to say quit and that he's as weak as piss and this and that and the other thing is just completely unwarranted and completely unfair.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there, mate. And Anthony, look, I suppose a lot has been said. Well, a lot of the arguments coming from people is the fact that he did say he was willing to die in the ring. And I must admit, I don't like when fighters say that, by the way, because I don't think any fighter should be prepared to die in the ring. That's just my opinion. I know they're warriors and they get paid a lot of money in the world championships, but I don't think any fighter should go in there and be prepared to die, literally. And I know they say that, but he did cop a lot of pushback about that in the comments section of all the social media sites out there today. Do you think he sort of brought a little bit upon himself, or it's just people just find anything to have a crack at him about?
Look, the one thing I know about Tim Tszyu, and literally from that first time I interviewed him down at your show where him and Glenn came down, and they still came down and helped promote the show, and I sat in the in their rooms and had a good interview with Tim, and at the time he was probably 7-0 or something like that, certainly under 10 fights, and he was supposed to fight on your show, Lynden, and even then he had grand ambitions. He said, I want to fight Chavez Jr. because of that, it's Tszyu versus Chavez again, like me and my dad. He's always had grand ambitions. And they were like 3 or 4 weight classes apart at the time. I would like for Tim to just focus on what's in front of him, the next fight, not what he could be, what he wants to be. It's great to have these ambitions, but I think just going, I've got to smash this bloke in front of me, and then I can think about the next step.
Dan, Jeff Fennick had a fair bit to say in the last couple of days. I, for one, applaud. Maybe don't agree with everything that he said, but I applaud the fact that he's actually has not towed the company line, I suppose, and been very gentle about it and just said what's politically correct and what all the papers expect him to say. I love the fact that he's just been Jeff Fennick himself. Especially, what was the one he was on today? Was it Raw Sports or something that went for about 40 minutes anyway? Had a lot to say about the team. Now, I've had my say. I'm sure everyone's had their say as well. Do you point the finger at Uncle Igor, or does it go a little bit deeper than that?
I think it's a combination of things. I don't think, Igor's solely to blame. Tim's the one in there fighting. So he's got to shoulder some of the blame as well. I mean, I think it's bits and pieces of everything. I think it's, the cut he suffered in the first fight against Fundora. I think it was the 3 or 4 knockdowns against Murdazaliev. I think it's a combination of things. I don't think it's one particular thing. But I will say this, I personally, and this, again, I'll just share my opinion, I think Uncle Igor has taken him as far as he can go.
Yeah.
And I think he really needs to look at, if he wants to go on, I think he needs to look at credible training methods and
any
credible
suggestions,
trainers.
any trainers, or
Robert Garcia would be absolutely brilliant for Tim.
Yeah, that's a little. I mean, there's lots of them out there, but
there is. But I mean, look, Tim's an aggressive fighter by nature. Robert coaches a style that's like that. So I think he can add 2 or 3 strings to Tim's bow, and I think he'd be absolutely perfect for Tim, Rob Garcia. I think Tim's fight style and Rob's training style marry up very well.
Yeah, I tend to agree. Look, I think someone mentioned today Andy Lee might be a good trainer as well. I mean, there's so many good ones out there, and I think it's more of a matter of not just. I mean, Robert Garcia would be good. I mean, others have suggested Freddie Roach and a few of the odders out there as well. I mean, it's got to be the right fit, doesn't it? Because you've got to have that chemistry between fighter and trainer. You just can't say, well, like say Freddie Roach just gelled beautifully with Manny Pacquiao, but is he really going to gel with Tim Tszyu? And Andy Lee's great with the British fighters, but how does that work working with a Russian style type of fighter? So there's lots of things, and Robert Garcia as well is more the Mexican style as well. Maybe he needs to adopt the Mexican style. I don't know, but I mean, it's a good conversation anyway. Anthony, do you think it runs a little bit deeper than that? Is it all? I know Dan said it's not all Uncle Igor's fault, but do you think maybe just to rejuvenate Tim, it might be to say, hey, we just need to flip the whole team over and start again and start afresh and just put a little bit of life back into Tim, because it's almost like he's stagnated a little bit maybe. And I know it's easy.
I was going to use the word flatline, but same thing. Yeah.
When you're winning, no one questions this. By the way, it's only when you lose, and a lot of things have happened. Since 18 months ago when he beat Brian Mendoza and was top of the world, and we're talking about moving to America and going up and fighting Canelo and all this sort of stuff. It's amazing how quickly it can turn. But do you think it runs a little bit deeper? And do you think what other changes do you think he needs to make in the corner?
Look, well, here's a big question to me. Like family is very important to the Tszyu family. Would Tim be willing to change trainer, or do they need to bring someone in to work on specific things?
That's the question. Would he do it?
Yeah. I cannot see Tim moving from Igor to another trainer, whether that's another trainer anywhere in the world, as his full-time trainer. If they could bring someone in, or do some camps in the States where they work on, Igor does his thing, and then some more, got to say it, some defensive things for Tim and different ways to defend rather than just parry, wait for the counter. maybe that's the way to go, because family is very important to the Tszyu family.
Yeah.
And I really can't see him leaving Igor as his lead trainer. But if they can bring someone else into the camp, or take some time off and go to the States and have a look at a few other trainers that, again, can add a few more strings to his bow, because he's certainly not done if he doesn't want to be done. But I certainly think the way he's traveling at the moment, and again in a very deep division, you have to say, well, am I going to beat Boot Tennis? Am I going to beat Serhij Boacek? It's probably if not the deepest division in boxing, it's bloody right up there. And you just can't wade through punches and think you're going to just bang people out.
I don't think he's got a choice at this point, Lynden. I think if he wants to remain at world level, this is something he's going to have to do. Because he's had a crack at the 154-pound champs. He's been beaten decisively. If he wants to go up to 160, it's not going to get any easier up there either. Look at all the champions up there. If he wants to remain at world level, he's going to have to get a world level trainer, because Igor's taken him as far as he can. It's really that simple. So it's going to be his decision. It's up for him to decide, or he can just stay at home and fight the likes of Zarafa and make his money here and sail off into the sunset. He's going to have to make some tough decisions.
Yeah, look, my opinion is he won't. Well, my gut feeling is he won't change trainers. I just think the law, and I don't agree with the decision, by the way. I'll get to that, but my personal gut feel is that he won't do it. I think the loyalty and everything runs too deep. The massive challenge for Tim is, as he stands at the crossroads of his career, he's got to look one way. Do I stay with Uncle Igor and do the family thing and stay, loyal to everyone that's helped me get to this far, and have the same results probably happen over and over and over again when he steps up to this level? Or does he look the other direction and go, if I'm serious about going forward with my career and doing it seriously, I have to make the call and sever ties. This is probably the biggest decision he's ever had to make. As I said, does he go left or does he go right? Does he go left and have loyalty and stay exactly the way it is? And I think it's pretty obvious based on the last 12 months when he's been at the absolute elite level, the top level, we'll call it the top shelf. And now seeing, there's obviously with the team he's got now, he's not at that level with the current team. Or does he have the fortitude, the minerals, whatever you might want to call it, the courage to say, I'm going to risk everything and take the biggest chance of my life, and I'm going to go right, and I'm going to go and call a Robert Garcia or a Freddie Roach or an Abel Sanchez or an Andy Lee or someone like that, and to do it. Because my personal opinion is, if he continues with the same team he has, that's great. Everyone gets a pat on the back for being loyal, but I just don't think he has any chance whatsoever of going to the next stage. And it's a decision he's going to have to make. I don't envy him, and I know it's easy for everyone out there to say, just sack the team and change. It's not that easy, I can tell you, when you're changing, especially when it's family involved as well. And I mean, I was with the same trainer for 15 years, and it never really crossed my mind to change. I was but amateur at the world level, but he's got massive stakes riding on what he does now. The legacy, the money, titles, you name it. So I'm really intrigued to see what direction he goes. And I know the Australian media, and I see they've interviewed George Rose and everyone else with an opinion in the last 24 hours. And it's about, no, I just think we need to do this, and maybe we'll fight Thurman and all that. So I just think they need to forget about that. And before he does anything, he needs to make the decision now on what direction he goes. Because just in my humble opinion, if he stays with the team he has now, in the corner I'm talking about, I don't think he should bother. That's just my personal opinion at trying to get to that level. Now, I think No Limit cop a lot, and I've been one that's really got stuck into them on certain occasions, but I don't think in this instance you can really blame them a lot. It's their job to get him the opportunities. They got him to a certain level, and then it's to hand him off to the PBCs and all these types of guys. And then it's up to his management team, which is obviously headed by Glenn Jennings, to decide whether they will take those opportunities or they won't. And I don't, strangely enough, begrudge the team of any decisions they've made. I think there's that massive sliding doors moment of the Fundora fight. Keith Thurman pulls out. Fundora comes in and has forever changed Tim's destiny in his career forever. Because who knows, if he had fought Thurman, I think we all expected him to win, knowing what we now know now compared to what we did then. We probably might have a different opinion, but back then we all thought he'd beat Thurman, and then who knows what would happen after that. He probably would have fought maybe Crawford after that, who fought Madrimov when he couldn't get when the Tszyu Fundora thing happened. And his whole career would have changed. But the facts of the matter are now that he is where he is. And I'm just staggered, or not staggered, I'm really anticipating what direction he's going to go, because there's a hell of a lot that's riding on it, and only he can make the call. What are your thoughts, Dan? Do you agree or do you differ?
Yeah, I agree, mate. No, his career depends on it. He's got to decide whether he wants to have a few more down here and put paid to his world level aspirations, or whether he takes a couple of fights down here and cashes in and sails off into the sunset. If he's going to do that, that's fine. Keep the same team. Because there's not much here that's going to challenge him. The only guy that can really challenge him in the top 10, I was having a look the other week, it's probably Zarafa. And I wouldn't think that was much of a challenge. I don't think Michael Zarafa's as good as Tim on his worst day. So there's not much here for him either. So I think he's got to put on the big boy pants, mate, and make a hard decision, as hard as it's going to be. It's his career. There's no room for sentiment in boxing, as you know. It's an unforgiving sport inside and outside of the ring. You've got, this is your career. It's you in the firing line. You've got to do what's best for you. And if that means hurting Uncle Eagle's feelings for a couple of months, so be it.
Anthony, do you think in this situation, we're all speculating and, again, got all our opinions. Do you think maybe Uncle Eagle sitting back today, if he's back here or still in the States, thinking maybe I should make the call and step down myself? I've proven I can only sort of take him so far. We're all putting this on Tim. But does Uncle Eagle maybe have to sit back? It's like here in Victoria with the AFL, the coach, the pressure's on the coach and everyone's piling on, and it's easy for everyone, say, for the club just to turf him. But at some stage, you've got to get the coach that says, I can't take this team any further. I'm going to step down myself. Do you think he's in the same position?
Are you bagging Vossi now?
I knew you'd say, hey, we won on the weekend, mate. We're doing all right.
By the way, it wasn't me that sent the text message.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a mixed message. Step down by but do you agree though that maybe Uncle Eagle has got to actually have a real hard think about this and decide whether it's best for Tim and his future for him actually staying on board? Has he got to make the call and step aside?
Again, we all know egos are very big in boxing, whether it comes from trainers or it comes from boxers themselves, and decisions are hard to make. And certainly when family becomes involved, then it triples the problems. I can't see Igor stepping down, and I can't see Tim stepping away from his family. And I think that would be absolutely to his detriment. I understand that what's worked for him has worked for him so far to a certain point. And the way he tries to defend himself is the way he tries to defend himself, parry punches and counter punch. He was expecting exactly the same fight from Sebastian Fundora that he had in the first fight. But guess what? One bloke changed his style. One bloke didn't. And the one bloke was the Australian.
Yeah.
And there's no way through from that for Tim to keep fighting the way he is, because everyone knows the way he's going to fight now, and everyone, yeah, it's a tough one. I definitely think he needs to change some things up, and whether that's getting rid of, for want of a better term, getting rid of Igor or getting other people in, or having camps overseas where he can work on things other than fitness and catching coins out of the air and
Yeah.
all that shit. That's fun and, shows good reflexes, but there's technical deficiencies there that need to be looked at, and particularly in defence.
Yeah. Just with Matty there, I'm not, does anyone have translation in the corner of the Russian? Oh, that's a good question, Matty. I'm not actually sure. Very, very good question, though. And so with Igor then, I just said Glenn said Igor won't stand out. He doesn't think he's a problem, which he is. Do you think, look, I don't know. As I said before, I understand how tough this would be for Tim. And this is nothing personal against Igor, what we're saying here as well. But as I said, mate, do you agree that he's either going to have to make the call or maybe just reassess where he's at and what he's going to do? Because as I said, in my opinion, if he doesn't change his team, nothing changes inside the ring.
Well, it's like I said, mate, if he wants to, remain at that world level, he's gonna have to make a decision. It's really that simple. If he wants a couple of fights back here, and as I said, there's not much back here for him, and that's no blight on the fighters that we have here. It's not, but there's just no one here to challenge him. So if he wants to have a couple of fights here, all right, hold on to Igor, hold on to your team. But if you want to remain at world level, you've got to make a change. It's really that simple. He can't just keep going over there and getting flogged. It's not working. And I'm probably sound disrespectful, and but I mean, facts are facts. He's going over there and he's being beaten decisively. It's not. Yeah, I mean, he got a split points loss with Fundora, but he's. That fight with Murtazalia, in the second one with Fundora, he wasn't just beaten, he was bashed. So just, he's got to make a change, mate, if he wants to stay in the upper echelon of that division in world boxing. If he wants to stay here and make a couple of easy bucks and fight locally, do it. Keep your team. Not going to make any difference.
And do you mind me jumping in here, guys?
Yeah, go for it, mate. Yep.
The last time we spoke, we were talking about the Joey Spencer fight, which just seemed to me an easy tune-up, not a fight where he was working on better defense or anything else, just a confidence-building fight. And then expecting Fundora to fight exactly the same way that he fought the first time. Well, one of these two blokes has improved. One of them's just got a confidence builder. And that's a big difference.
I think we really have to give credit to Fundora here too. Well,
we're forgetting that, aren't we?
He, we can go on all day about Tim, but look, I heard Michael Zarafa say that he just beat a prospect, which is one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard. Sebastian Fundora is hardly a prospect. He's a world champion. He's a credible world champion. He's only going to get better from here. I just don't think, unless Tim changes up his team or changes up his trainer, as such, I don't think he's going to be able to match it with, the likes of Fundora and Murtazalia. I think he, like I said a million times, mate, he needs to make a decision.
Anthony, do you think, or actually, I just want your opinion on the Australian boxing media. Now, I know you guys are in the media. I'm probably talking more the mainstream, not proper publications like yourself. I'm talking about the Herald Sun and the Daily, Telegraph in Sydney and the Courier Mail in Brisbane and all the other sites that sort of the Associated Press that pick up on all the stories and run with it. Do you think that's played into Australia's probably unrealistic expectations of Tim? Because I knew it was coming. with all I actually stopped reading all the articles in the lead up to the fight because they were just so unrealistic on what they were saying. It just brought back memories of the pre-Murtazalia fight, to be honest, and pre-first Fundora fight. But do you think that expectation is just sort of weighed on Tim? Because here in Australia, based on that not the Australian boxing media, the mainstream media who report on boxing, have sort of treated Tim like he's Superman, and even today are asking for answers of how could this possibly happen? Do you think that's created this, as I said, or unreachable expectations for Tim?
100%, mate. 100%. One of the first fights I saw as a kid was Barry Michael and Lester Ellis, and at the time, everything in the media was about Lester Ellis is going to bash the brains out of Barry Michael, and I was like 11 years old or something at the time, and I bought into it because I'm a young kid, and Lester was just bashing everyone, and I mainstream media will pick you up when you're flying high, and they'll dump you like this when you're not traveling so well. They won't back you in failure; they'll back you in success. And it's not like a game of footy where you can turn up the next week and say, okay, yeah, we lost by 1 point to Freo.
Oh, did you?
Well, you saw
We're not talking footy, by the way. Keep going.
but you know what I mean. Like there's certain brand names that the mainstream media will gravitate towards, and obviously having a surname like Tszyu, it's going to be a big thing. And they'll put it on the front page, and they'll do round by rounds, and then be shocked that there's another great boxer in the world that can beat an Australian or whatever, and they'll wipe them and not come back to them, or maybe come back to them. It's not a nice thing to see when you're a fan of the sport, to see people chucked in the dumpster so easily when they've done their best, and yeah, look, there's certainly things they could do better, but yeah, it's a difficult one.
Yeah, Dan, what happens now with Australian boxing? I know it sounds like a bit of a silly question because we've got so many young prospects coming up, and and we always go on about Jai never gets a fair run in the media. And we all know why, because No Limit and Foxtel are attached to all the mainstream papers, so they get X amount of news story, all that sort of stuff. But what happens now? I mean, because in my opinion, I said yesterday in my review that Australia needs to forget about Tim Tszyu for 6 months. Just let him go. Not even mention his name and focus on others. But of course they won't, because we'll have 6 months worth of stories about what's next for Tim and who's next for Tim and can he come back for Tim, or can Tim come back? But what now do you think for Aussie boxing? Who takes the limelight? Who steps in? What happens to No Limit now with the pay-per-views? I know we're talking about Nikita, I think, in August. Where do you see the next 6 to 12 months for Aussie boxing now that Tim Tszyu looks like he's going to be shelved?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think we're really lucky down here. I really do, and I think Australian boxing is very underrated. I do. I know we haven't had the results go our way overseas lately, but I mean, look, what Jai Opetaia is doing is nothing short of sensational, mate. He's really putting Australia and Samoa, for that matter, on the map. And he's doing a fantastic job. And then you got guys like Liam Paro and Sam Goodman and Liam Wilson to a certain extent. I mean, we've got guys that are right there, and then we've also got the girls as well. I mean, Chanika Johnson and these sort of girls. I think Australian boxing's still in a good spot with or without Tim Tszyu.
Yeah, I tend to agree, and Anthony, it's a good point there, Dan. Because we've got Sam Goodman about to fight for a world title. We've just had George Kambosos fight for a title. Of course, Tim, Jai, Liam Wilson might fight for a world title in the future. Liam Paro will probably fight for world titles. Andrew Maloney has an eliminator, in a couple of weeks' time. He might fight for a title. Don't count out Jason Maloney. I know he's lost his last couple of fights, but hasn't been beaten badly or stopped or anything like that. He's just lost 2 close decision wins. So, they're still in the mix. And, of course, like you said, Dan, all the girls out there. So, Anthony, it's if we take off the rose-coloured glasses with Tim Tszyu on there, we're actually still, like Dan said, in a pretty good position.
Correct. I think there's another level as well to apart from the people that are already world ranked. We actually have pretty good depth here in Australian boxing for a small for a very small country. I think there's a lot of things to look forward to. There's been so much focus on Tim Tszyu and Jai Bataille, I reckon, is that I've seen him spar, I've seen him fight, I've been ringside a lot of the time to see him go through. Jai Bataille is. We're not in a position where it's just one fighter that's going to carry the whole sport. We have so much depth there that I think there's really a lot to look forward to. And I still go back to Jeff Horn beating Manny Pacquiao. I reckon that was the turning point for a lot of fighters to say, fucking hell, he's done it. If he's done it, I can do it. I've sparred the bloke, or I know the bloke, or he's just an everyday Aussie. If he can do it, I can do it. And I reckon there's still that legacy going on that boxers that perhaps are like, oh, I've got to go overseas. It's going to be a little bit tough. It's going to be a little bit hard. Now there's a confidence about Australian fighters and Australian boxing that we're not just the blokes who turn up and be hard nosed and lose a decision or end up going too hard and getting knocked out. That there's an actual confidence there now with Australian boxers that they can go on and do it. Which is what I'm enjoying. That's probably one of my favourite things about Australian boxing right now.
Yeah, no, you're right. There's definitely a fair bit going on. Dan, where does No Limit fall into everything going forward? Because we know it's all the eggs have been in the zoo basket. And I hear you there, mate. We'll get on to Jai in a minute there, mate. I understand, but this is more of a review of the weekend. Although a little bit happening with Jai as well because Zerdo's had the operation, but we'll get to Jai a little bit later. But No Limit, they've obviously got the Foxtel and contract all stitched up for now because I think the DAZN thing comes in, I think in October or November. I think it is that all starts to happen. So be interesting there. What would they be thinking today after what happened? I was where I was seated at the fights on the little laneway where they sort of come out there, the galley or whatever you might call it. They were standing and they looked obviously forlorn. What would be going through their minds now about how do we pick up the pieces now of our own promotional firm and what do we do going forward? Because our main guy has just been beaten for the 3rd time in 4 fights. And they haven't really got, I know Nikita's coming through and everything else, but what will be going through their minds today after the dust has settled about what do they do going forward?
Get out to the tournaments like the National Amateur Championships very quickly and start recruiting because the gravy train, as I said, as we've discussed, mate, if it's, if Tim's not going to make changes, he's just not going to go very far going forward. So, I'd be scouting very quickly, looking for up and coming talent and getting them signed. Yeah,
because I've always been a little bit of a critic of the No Limit on Fox events because I think they're a great concept, but I don't think they've been used in the manner they were probably supposed to have been used. So Fox has obviously said, well, here's the pay-per-views where they do probably half a dozen a year, or 4 or 5, whatever it is, and here's the No Limit on Fox's events that are supposed to, as far as I know, are supposed to be feeder programs or feeder events to the big events, the pay-per-views. And I just think they were sort of used as just filler fights. There was no real method to it. What do you think, Anthony? Because I just don't think there was any method to what they were doing. I would have expected, I know if I was running No Limit or had the keys of the Ferrari like they do, that it would have been, all right, well, here's our pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, the big leagues, the AFL in Victoria, of where the pay-per-views is, and then we go down, and then we have that feeder program at the bottom where you work your way up the undercard of the No Limit on Foxes. Of course, we have a main event of a young up-and-coming star, and then the young up-and-coming star who keeps winning, he progresses to the pay-per-view events, and then the next wave keeps coming through. That's the way I sort of envisaged them doing it. But in my opinion, they just haven't done it. It's just been, well, whatever fights we can put together, we'll just put on there to keep Foxtel happy. Do you agree with that, or do you differ in your opinion?
No, look, I reckon you're bang on that. I think that the only second string in their bow they have is Nikita Tszyu, based on name value.
And that's about it at this stage.
And obviously the TV contract and everything else with Foxtel and KO, but when Tim's, I shouldn't say run out of gas, but there's question marks about how what happens with his career, and you've only got Nikita Tszyu, who gets a very fun fighter to watch on TV, by the way. If that's your second string, who's your third string? Who else do you have coming through that you're gonna promote? And I guess that's really the question for No Limit, or as a mate of mine says, the Tim Tszyu promo code.
It's a bit like that. Look, you can't begrudge No Limit by the way of doing that, because I mean he was a superstar right off the bat, and attracted all the pay-per-view buys and everything else. But geez, I don't know. I just would have thought there would have been a division or whatever it is of No Limit boxing where they would have went, okay, well, let's put someone in charge of our feeder program. We'll concentrate on Tim and the Sam Goodmans and Liam Wilson's coming through, and Nikita. We'll concentrate on them, but put someone in charge of that No Limit on Fox as the secondary tier of the fighters coming through. I mean, as I said, Foxtel have pretty much said, look, boys, this boxing thing is way too hard for us. You guys do it. We'll give you all the resources and you just do it. Rather than the past, it's whatever promoter they were dealing with, half a dozen different promoters. But I just think, as I said, if I had been running the show there, I would have been having someone in charge of that division or that tier of those next guys coming through. But I'm sure they've got their own business model. I just don't think they've used. Well, I think they've put the old 91 fuel in the Ferrari, if that makes sense, instead of the 98 premium stuff. That's the way I sort of liken it. Dan, I want to ask you, Anthony touched on Nikita Tszyu. What's going through Nikita's mind at the moment? Firstly, as far as, I suppose, his own boxing mortality, does he, now that he's seen what it's like and what's happened to his brother and with the team, what would be going through his mind as far as Uncle Igor goes? Is this really what I want to do going forward? And if it is it with No Limit? Is whatever? What do you think was? I know he's a strange cat, by the way. Anything could be going through his mind. But in a boxing terms, what do you think? As I get a super chat there. Thanks, Andy, by the way, mate. I'll just read this out. Sorry, Dan. Congratulations to all the winners. What's that there? Bad luck, Tim. Never put all your eggs in one basket, in my opinion. Subscribe, share, smash the like. So, thanks very much, Andy. Go ahead, Dan. Sorry, mate.
That's okay, mate. Look, I think if he's going to learn anything, he's got a blueprint laid out right in front of him as to what not to do moving forward. I think. So maybe he has to make some decisions as well. If he wants to take it all the way to world level, Has Igor demand to take him to world level now that he's seen what's happened with Tim? I don't know, mate. Look, I think Nikita's still largely unproven. I think he's got a lot of unfinished business to do here in Australia before he even thinks about heading overseas.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I think he's so far from what I've shown. Hey, he's got all the natural talent in the world, but geez, it's like he's got the same flaws as Tim, but Tim is actually the more naturally gifted fighter. So if Tim's getting that happened to him, what happened on the weekend, I really, and I hope I'm wrong, I really worry about the future for Nikita at that if he does get to that level, because he needs to really sharpen things up or adjust different things and like Tim does, make some hard decisions. Maybe at least he's got the opportunity to make it before he learns the hard way like Tim did. But yeah, we're talking about the crossroads for Tim. It's got to be the same for Nikita. Anthony, do you think that Kostya might have some say on the boy's future and what happens? What do you think he would be saying today?
I'm sure he'd have plenty to say. But there's a very difficult, from what I understand, a very difficult relationship after he went back to Russia, and a very difficult family relationship.
It's complicated.
What it's complicated is probably the easiest way to put it. Yes. And again, Kosh had 270 amateur fights, and his boys had 50 here in Australia. If that, and it's a big difference. The level of competition they were fighting at in the amateurs too, and we all know the amateurs in Australia is very different to what Kostya would have gone through. I'm sure Kostya's got his own opinion, and it's a tough one. The boys aren't their dad, but they want to. They probably want to imitate their dad to a certain degree, and they want the success of their dad, and everyone wants that. Everyone wants to be as good or better than their father. But the pressure on these kids now is it gets bigger and bigger and bigger after you've lost a couple of fights. It's a tricky situation.
Yeah, I know we touched on it before, and I'm of the opinion that the weight of expectations has certainly taken it's probably a couple of things. It's taken its effect on probably the guys, especially Tim, as far as maybe the way he sort of saw himself, and I think we saw it a little bit with the lead up to the first Fundora fight, and especially with Murtazaliev, where I know some people have called it a little bit cocky or arrogant, whatever it was. He definitely had a different persona, and maybe just the excitement of the whole thing got to him. Who knows? And maybe he just got a bit carried away. But yeah, it's certainly been very, very humbling for both guys. But I just think, the weight of expectations from the Australian public has been immense for both of them. And who knows, maybe a change of scenery might do that as well. I know, Dan, there was talk at one stage, especially last year, about maybe going to Russia. I don't think that's a feasible type of thing. But do you think maybe Kostya could be the answer as far as being involved in the corner, or is the relationship a little bit too heated?
Well, yeah, it could be, Lynden. I don't know enough about that dynamic. I'd only be speculating, mate. But it appears as though they don't really click, I suppose. I don't know. Or they just don't have that traditional father-son relationship, I guess, And look, that's understandable. I mean, Costa lives in a different country. So, maybe they didn't have the time together that, they needed to bond. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just speculating, but I don't think Costa's the answer.
Yeah, I tend to agree. And I know there's been a few that said maybe Jeff Fennick after what he said yesterday. What do you think? Would he be an option?
Oh, I think that's very hypothetical. Lynden, to be honest, I don't think those two will be working together anytime soon. But
he's had a few things to say about the Tszyu family, hasn't he? Well, he loves the Tszyu family. He just doesn't rate the team.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, look, I mean, Jeff's going to be Jeff. I mean, we all know that, and some of his opinions I 100% agree with. Some of them I don't. But at least he tells it like it is. He's straightforward, and he'll share his opinion, which I like.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. The only thing I would say about with the way Jeff trains is Anthony is that he tries to model his fighters on the way he fought. That's probably the only criticism I've got of Jeff. And I love Jeff. Jeff's my all-time favourite fighter, and I think he's a great trainer. But that would be the only criticism I would have is that, we saw it with Brock Jarvis, especially when he was at super bantamweight and featherweight and everything else, when he had so much advantage over his opponents as far as his size goes. But he would be in the trenches and fighting like Jeff used to fight, on the head on the chest and ripping and hooking and just relentless pressure. And I just don't think that was the way for Brock, and then I ended up getting him knocked out by Liam Paro. But that's the only thing. But do you think he maybe brings other attributes to Tim as far as experience goes, and knowing all those little tricks of the trade, all those little shifties they all try and pull in the lead up to the fight and at the weigh-in and during the fight and everything else? Do you think that might be an advantage for Tim to have someone as passionate and driven as Jeff in the corner behind him?
Look, they're two completely different personalities, Lyndon. Personalities I'm not sure that would necessarily gel together. Tim's quite introverted, whereas Jeff's quite extroverted. So I'm not sure if that clashes.
Yeah.
But as far as experience goes, for a guy who's been on the world stage and knows what it's like to fight at the top level, that's a huge advantage. And anybody, I'll put it this way, anybody that's under the tutelage of Jeff Fennick, it's a privilege. Jeff's one of our all-time greats, mate, and I've got nothing but respect for Jeff, but because of his personality, he doesn't always get along with everyone, and that's okay. But I think from an advantages, yeah, definitely. I mean, Jeff's been there and done it himself on the world stage. That's a huge advantage. But unfortunately, I think in this case, I think the cons far outweigh the pros.
Yeah, I tend to be with you there. And Anthony, I mean, one thing I will say about Jeff, what he would bring is presence and a bit of attitude, and not taking any shit from the Yanks or wherever it might be over there. He's just that type of guy. And, because I remember when I was promoting and he brought Brock Jarvis to Melbourne, this is the presence he had. He made the combat board apologise to everyone because they were late. This is the type of guy he is.
I was there at that weigh-in too. I was there at that
and
weigh-in.
I saw it. And I was like, oh my God, but this is Jeff Fennick.
What have I got myself into?
There's a quick story for everyone there that, they were at the weigh-in at the Adara or whatever it's called in Richmond there, and everyone was there waiting to weigh in, and the combat board ladies got lost, and they were about 20 minutes late. Well, he let rip in front of everybody and made them apologise to everyone in attendance, especially the fighters. And look, that's what I'm saying, and I'm not saying it's the right thing to do, but they apologised. But I just think maybe that's what maybe he might need, is someone like Jeff who's just got a bit of that don't mess with us attitude. But on the other hand, Anthony, Dan was right that maybe they it might be a little bit hard as far as the meshing goes together with the personalities. What do you think?
Oh, look, at the end of the day, it's all about trainers matching with their fighters and being able to have a connection there. And you can have the best trainer in the world, and you can have a great fighter, and we've seen it at every level of boxing where people are both great at what they do, but they don't quite mesh right. There's personality conflicts and things like that. And Jeff is a very strong personality.
Very, very strong. And that's what I love about him. Oh, look, I know it's not for everyone, but I just love the unfiltered approach he has. And he's almost like in real life, while in everyday life, what he was in the ring. He's just a buzzsaw. And if you're with him, he'll ride you to, along with you to glory, alongside you. But if you're against him, well, he'll make life very hard for you. And I just think he's a very unique guy, and that's what obviously made him who he was, because he's just so driven. what he does.
And focus,
and focus, yeah. And I just love today. Danny had a fair bit to. Who's the Foxtel guy? Is it Steve Crawley? Because Jeff used to obviously work for Foxtel. Obviously, things didn't quite work out there, but he had a little bit to say about him. What did he say? He's 4'6" and 120 kilos, and what the hell does he know about boxing? And he had a go at Brownie. How could you have a go at Jonathan Brown, the AFL legend? But I do agree with his assessment, by the way. Why are they sending an AFL premiership player to Las Vegas? I saw Willie Mason over there as well. What are these sort of guys? Not so much Willie Mason, because I think he's got another platform, but to have Jonathan Brown and Peter Bedell, I suppose he's a boxing journalist, but to have Jonathan Brown over there, as much as I love him, surely they could have found someone that, maybe a Barry Michael or someone that's got a bit of boxing knowledge and can speak properly to go over there and give a bit more expert opinion and actually talk. I felt so awkward for Sean Porter, because this multi-world champion being sort of interviewed for his thoughts, and he's trying to bounce things back and forth with Jonathan Brown. How awkward it was. It was just a bit cringe anyway, but I'm sure we can do a little bit better than that, can't we?
Yes. Yes, we can. Yeah, look, I mean, good on him. Good on Brownie for having a go. Look, I'm a fan of Brownie. And we come from the same hometown, and I'm a big fan. But yeah, look, I mean, very, very passionate about the sport. I mean, I'll give him that. But as far as I think his knowledge is probably a bit limited. But good luck to him. Yeah,
and my opinion is that it's okay to have guys like that on there, but you got to balance it out. Like, it'd be okay to have the female host is really good. I think she does a really, really good job. I can't remember her name. She does a bit of the footy in that as well. But I just think the balance was out, because it's okay to have Jonathan Brown, but have a Barry Michael is that a name? Yeah, but I mean, have Jonathan Brown there for the little bit of the not comical relief. You know what I mean? Like, he's Brownie. If you know AFL, he's just Jonathan Brown, big Brownie. We all love him, even though he plays for Brisbane. But to have him balance him out with a Jeff Fennick or a Barry Michael, one of these guys, that's what they just didn't do. It was a little bit awkward, especially Sean Porter's up there. You could sort of see he's looking around like, who are these people, And I know he's worked with them before in Australia, but I just think, look, I don't know, we're grasping at straws a little bit, but I just think they can do a little bit better. I'm still staggered why Barry Michael's not part of it. I just think he's so good at what he does. Speaks so well. All the experience in the book. Yeah.
I was speaking to a couple of mates about that, Lynden, and I said exactly the same thing. I said, why don't they fly Baz over there? I mean, you've got to get boxing people on broadcasts. I don't think, you can have an occasional journo. I mean, that's fine. I mean, especially if he's a specialist in writing about the sport. Yeah, of course, bring him in. But I'm not sure Pete Bedell's the man either, mate, to be honest. But anyway.
No, look, Peter's sort of good in his own sort of lane, I suppose. But he can get a little bit awkward there sometimes as well. But, like,
I think when he's going into the technical aspects of the sport, mate, I think he probably needs to be a bit quieter.
That's where the mix was wrong. That's where the mix was wrong.
I think he's okay for general commentary, but when you're going into the finer details of the sport, mate, I think he probably needs to know his ceiling.
Well,
but anyway.
You look at it on the footy broadcast back here, and again, guys, if you're an NRL supporter, I'm sorry, I don't watch NRL, so I don't know how it works with that broadcast. But I know with AFL, they obviously have the female host who, again, does a really, really good job. Then they'll usually have the sort of the newsbreaker, and that's where Peter Bedell could have been sort of slotted there as what's the news sort of part of it.
Yeah.
And then have the Nathan Buckley type that actually knows what he's talking about and can delve deep into what boxing people. We don't just want, because what they do is, because they don't really know any better, they just skim the surface and state the obvious. They don't actually have some real in-depth opinions where people go, you know what? Yeah, that's a pretty good take. It's just like they tell us the obvious, and it's very vanilla. But anyway, we've been going on about that for too long anyway. But I would actually, one more thing, Anthony. I think someone that would be really good, and I know he's probably tied up with Stan, but it was Danny Green. I think Danny Green speaks really well. And anyway, but that's just my opinion. I think he would be okay as well. Megan Barnard, there you go, Ross. Great. Yeah. I think though he might have burned his britches about a few years ago. I think he did the Pacquiao and Jeff Horn fight. I think he might have had a big night the night beforehand and was a bit raspy on the day, from what I've heard.
That sounds like Greeny.
I did actually. I had a bit of a chat to him the night before, and I could probably see where he was coming from. He was in good spirits, put it that way. But I just remember the next day he was a bit raspy. But I think all that aside, I think he knows his boxing. Obviously, he's got a lot of boxing knowledge and experience. I think he speaks pretty well, and I think everyone loves the knockabout sort of Greeny type of about attitude. Anyway, what about you, Anthony? Would you like to see Greeny involved?
I would, but I've got to double back here, Lynden. I know you're a Carlton supporter, and I love the fact you brought up Nathan Buckley there.
Well, hey, I hate Collingwood, mate, but he's still a champion. There's no mistake about that.
I reckon you are Collingwood. You got the black and white beard.
Hey, come on. That's a bit low.
I'm Collingwood, of course I'm low.
Oh, well, that's enough for Collingwood. All right, boys, just a couple of things before we go. Some other stuff happening in Aussie boxing now. Dan, Jai Pataya, Zurdo Ramirez has had the operation. A lot of people sort of foreseen this, that maybe he'd take the opportunity to maybe opt out of. I don't sort of see it that way, by the way. It's probably the Australian glasses on here. People saying he's scared of Jai and everything else. But he's going to be out for some time. What next for Jai? Does he move up to heavyweight, or does he hang around?
No,
I like that one there. I'll get on the commentary team. I'll do it. Big difference between having a YouTube channel and being live on Foxtel. But anyway, go ahead, Dan.
You're a natural, Lynden.
Thanks, mate.
Look, I'd hang around. I think there's a too big of opportunity to unify and get the undisputed that he's looking for. Have one or two, keep busies, and then hopefully Ramirez heals up, and then go for the unification or the undisputed. But it's a fight fans want to see. So it's not as if there's no. I would probably encourage him to move up to heavyweight if there was no one left. But there is, and it just so happens that he's out for a period of time. But yeah, I think he needs to wait for Ramirez.
Yeah, no, I agree. What about you, Anthony? Do you think he hangs around, or is he go? I actually had a quick conversation. Well, it wasn't quick. It was about half an hour conversation with Mick Francis at JFK Airport of all places. We just met each other coming out of customs, out of the the security line and all that sort of stuff. And he was over there sort of pushing the barrow for Jai to meeting with Golden Boy to try and get that Zurdo fight. So obviously this has come out of the blue. So do you think he goes to heavyweight, or he stays where he is and waits?
Look, my mail is that both Zurdo and Badu Jack have priced themselves out of the fights by multi-millions.
Conveniently.
Multi-millions.
I think the WBC are protecting Badu Jack.
Yeah, that's obvious too, yeah.
Yeah, well, Badu Jack wants more than Zurdo does to fight Opataya.
Oh, so what's he going to do? Fight Jake Paul, is he?
So exactly. So Opataya is a perfect cruiserweight. Can fight at heavyweight, 212 pounds or something like that would be perfect for him. But I guess the question is, what does he do if no one else wants to fight him? People say he fights bums, but everyone else wants 3 times what the Ring Magazine champion's been getting for fights, 3, 4, 5 times just to face him. So does he have to go up to heavyweight to make a name for himself? He's in a tough position. He's in a tough position where he's a natural cruiserweight, and I don't know.
I think he has to wait for Ramirez. I think that's important. I think he'll wait around. I'll wait for him to heal up. He can have 2 fights and then Ramirez will be back.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, there's a couple other guys, I suppose, and maybe if that is right about Badu Jack being priced out of it, because that would be the logical fight, and then maybe make the call after that. Because I would love with the timing and everything to actually make the move and call out Alexander Usyk. I know a lot of people laugh that off, but Usyk's after that one or two last challenges, and really apart from Joseph Parker, who is he going to fight? I know he's teasing Fury and maybe Joshua, but Joshua's coming off a knockout loss. There's only really Fury, and he's already beaten him twice. I don't know. I just sort of wish, and it probably doesn't look like it's going to happen, but if all the stars aligned and Jai had a couple of belts and preferably all 4 belts as the undisputed champion to move up and fight the undisputed heavyweight champion, that would be great. And that's what I'm a little bit pissed about, that now Zerto's out, and if Badu Jack doesn't want to play ball, if he had those belts, I got no doubt if he put the hand up and said, right, being the undisputed cruiserweight champion, now I want to go up and fight Usyk for the undisputed heavyweight title, I think there'd be a fair bit of push behind to make that happen. I just don't think that Usyk would do it now just with that one belt and still relatively unknown.
I think they're just going to miss each other, Lynden.
Oh, sorry, guys. Sorry, yep.
I think they're just going to miss each other.
Yeah, I'm with you. What about you, Anthony? What do you think? Sorry, Dan.
If nothing's happening at cruiserweight, I wouldn't mind Oppenheimer to put his toe in the water and go up to heavyweight and fight, say, a Dillian White or a Derek Chisora or something like that, and then keep the belts down there, do a hit and run mission, and just have a bit of a look see, and then drop back down to cruiserweight and get a name under his belt and come back down and say, well, you shoulder ready now, Zerto? You ready to go? Because you got no other choice. That'd be. But it's a very difficult position for Tasman fighters, knowing where to place him. It's
I think he just boxes his mandatories and waits for him to get back. I would personally, I wouldn't like to see him go up to heavyweight. Not
at all.
Not yet.
Yeah.
No, not yet. No,
yeah.
No, and then have to come back down to cruiserweight. I don't think it's a good idea. Especially putting him in with blokes like Chisora and what's his name?
White, Tolma.
White, yeah. I think it's too big a risk, mate. Because those guys are big heavyweights. They're big, 250, 255 plus heavyweights. I think that's too great a risk for his first fight at heavyweight.
Well, it's different to yesteryear, isn't it? I mean, I remember when Michael Spinks came up and Holyfield and these types of guys, they were fighting guys that were sort of 225, 230, and now they're 255, 260. I mean, it's a big jump. What about Dan Sam Goodman? He's got his fight with Nick Ball coming up. What do you think his chances are of that?
Yeah, look, Ball's an entertaining fight. I like watching Nick Ball, but look, Sam's got a real challenge on his hands. I mean, there's no doubt about that. But look, I think he's in with a chance, Sam. I do. I think Ball has a very similar fighting style to Pitbull Cruz, and I think you can get him on the way in because he rushes in a lot. I think you can get him on the way in. I think if Sam trains for him and prepares for him, to try and, touch him coming in, I think he's every chance. I rate his chances, mate. Whether he wins or not, I don't know. I think he's a chance, but I think it's a real challenge for him.
Yeah. What about you, Anthony? Do you think he's got the the strength or the power to sort of keep Nick Ball off him?
Look, I certainly think he's got Sam the Ghost Goodman. I reckon has, and I love watching Nick Ball. I reckon Nick Ball is he's a made for TV fighter. He's tough. He's nuggety. He's just a little power plug that keeps coming and coming. I'm not going to say he's tailor made for Sam the Ghost Goodman, but I reckon there'll be opportunities there if Sam's right on the day. But again, moving up in weight, it's another thing too. But I certainly wouldn't write off Sam Goodman in that fight. I think there's counter punching opportunities there with a forward rushing fighter that he can take on.
Just before we go on, Benji didn't see anything about the fight. Benji, the Gallen and Gallen Williams pay-per-view. Any of you guys know the pay-per-view numbers?
No, I don't know the numbers, mate.
Yeah.
I don't know the exact numbers, Lyndon, but I heard they went great, mate.
Yeah. As I said, I'm not really an
Hardly
NRL guy,
surprising.
so I didn't really know too much about the guys. But I just refused to watch anything. 2-minute rounds. Come on. I mean, be serious about it. Although I think I saw Jeff Fennick today said that I think Gallen was pretty happy they were 2-minute rounds as well because he struggled a bit. I don't know. I didn't see 1 second of the fights. All right, now before we go, guys, I'm going to put you on the spot with a couple of things. I want to hear, Dan, your pound for pound top 10 Australian boxers. Now that we've had recent fights with Tim and George and Jai and a few others. Right, even if you're top 5 or 6, who you got as the? No, we'll say top 10. Go for your top 10 and see how you go.
Top 10. Okay. Look, I'm just going to throw 10 fighters in there, and then
maybe do the top 5 in order, and then do the other 5 whoever in whatever order you want.
Yeah, number 1's obviously Jai. I mean, I think we'll all agree on that. Number 2.
It gets harder now, doesn't it?
I'd have to put in Liam Paro.
Okay.
After his last, he was very impressive. Mm-hmm. His last, very impressive. Number 3. Sammy Goodman, I think at this point.
Okay.
Number 4. I would have to put in Justice Uni. I think he just got caught. His last fight, he was on his way to winning that. And, that was a fantastic performance. So I'd put him at 4. 5. Geez, you have put me on the spot here, Lyndon.
We've got a few you can pick from. There's Tim, there's George, there's the Maloneys, there's Liam Wilson. There's a few fighters in there.
Yes. I'd have to put Jason Maloney at 5. Probably put Andy at 6. Maybe Liam Wilson 7. Why don't we throw Chanika Johnson in there at 8 or 9?
Well, I was going to say you can put females in if you want. Yeah, that's fine.
Absolutely. And why don't we throw Sky Nicholson in?
Okay, you think? Okay, yep.
Sorry, mate, just off the top of my head. I've had a long day.
Oh, that's all right. That's okay. Anthony, what do you think?
Look, I'll put number 1 by... I'll put number 1 and then Daylight.
Yep.
And I still got to say Liam Paro number 2. I don't mean to imitate you, Dan, too much, but I think what he's done on the world stage is right up there. You're an arsehole of a host, Lyndon.
Sorry, mate. Well, there's a few to. I didn't think it was the sort of question that. How about I'll do mine and you can have a think about it. But I just would have thought it'd be an easy question that you have. I sort of think about this thing daily. Who's up there? I would have. Jai Patara, of course. That's the obvious one. I do agree that Liam Paro would be number 2. It gets tough from there because I've had a few of our big guns that have lost recent fights. Jason Maloney, Tim's.
And they can be in big fights, but then it becomes hard, doesn't it?
That's right. And
through the back end, yeah.
So you've had Jason, you've had Tim, you've had George, all lost their last fights. I'd have Jai at number 1. I'd have Liam at number 2. I would have. I reckon I'd have Jason Maloney at number 3.
Oh, I was about to say I'd have Jason at number 3. I reckon he's still got a little bit more left in the tank. I'd probably have Andrew a lot lower than that. I wouldn't have them next to each other like you did, Dan. But continue, Lyndon.
Yeah. Number 4. That's where it gets sort of tough. I think I'd probably still have Tim at number 4. It's a tough one. And then maybe even George at 5. Because the fights they've been in, these aren't just, with all due respect to Justice Honey, who I'd probably have at number 6, Fabio Wardley is not Sebastian Fundora or Richardson Hitchens. You know what I mean? That's why it's hard to weigh up.
Yep.
Is it just the results they've had, or is it the level of competition? But if I'm just going on a lot of things, call it gut feel in the end. It'd be Opataya, Paro, Jason Maloney, Tim Tszyu, George Kambosos, and then Justice Honey, and then maybe Andrew Maloney at 7, Liam Wilson at number 8. It gets pretty tough after that. I mean, Shanika Johnson, if you've thrown in the girls as well.
World champion.
Yeah, exactly. I would have had Sky in there as well.
By the way.
Sorry, mate.
Undisputed, by the way.
Yeah. Look, the only thing I would say, it's just a little bit of an asterisk beside as far as just the level of competition. I think there's better fighters out there, but you can only beat who's got the belts. That's all I'm saying. History won't show sort of who they beat. It's what titles they won. So I'm just saying, like, they were sort of vacant belts. But anyway, number 9 for Sky would have been in there, but that loss to the American girl Tiara Brown, it sort of set her back a little bit in my books.
I don't think her last opponent probably helped either. Lynden.
No, that was embarrassing. But yeah, look, I don't know. You've got guys like who else is there? I'm sorry, Mattia Tapia. Does he qualify as an Aussie? Nikita, of course. So anyway, there's a few you could throw in there. Anthony, finish off your top 10, mate.
Look, I'm gonna squeeze myself in there at number 9, I think.
Do it, mate. That's fine.
No, I reckon once you get out of 5 or 6, then it becomes a bit of a raffle.
Yeah, I actually forgot about George and Tim, so I do apologise to both of them. But
geez, how quickly we forget. George Kambosos and Tim Tszyu, you forgot about.
I know. Sorry, boys.
You forgot about George Kambosos and Tim Tszyu.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, well.
How
Hey,
am I going?
Yeah, just quickly then. And Sam Goodman. Sorry, we all forgot about Sammy Goodman.
Put him in.
Put him in. Sorry. I would have had him at
3.
I would have had him in. Oh, geez, I don't know. I'll have a think about it. Geez, it was my idea, and I've stuffed it. All right, just quickly then, the top 5 pound for pound in the world. Then, just the top 5, so we're not putting you on the spot too much.
Fire away, Coxie.
Okay. I'm going to go Usyk. In a way. Crawford. I'm going to put Bam Rodriguez in at 3. At 4.
4, yeah.
I think what he did to as a young kid who's 25 still and still got plenty of upside and has moved up and down divisions and dominated people in every weight class is something special. What have I got? One more spot.
Yeah. So you've gone Usyk, in a way. Who was number 3? Crawford, was it?
Crawford, yeah.
Crawford, and then Rodriguez.
And then we're going to go my old mate Nakatani.
Nakatani at 5. Okay.
Naka's Nakatani.
Nakatani. What about you, Dan?
Okay, number 1, in a way.
Okay.
In a way. Number 2, Usyk. Number 3, Crawford. Number 4, Canelo. Number 5, I think I'm going to have to go. Ooh. I'm going to go Rodriguez.
Okay. Yep, no, that's good. I would go number 1, I would have Usyk. Number 2, I would have Inoue. Number 3, I would have Canelo. Number 4, I would have, I'd probably have Bam Rodriguez, to be honest. And then I'd have probably Crawford at about number 5. I just wasn't that impressed in his last fight. And he's had, one fight in 2 years. So
yeah, I think that's a problem with Crawford, isn't it, boys? Like he just doesn't fight often enough.
Sorry, Tony.
He just
if sorry, buddy.
He just doesn't fight often enough. If he fought often enough, he'd probably be number one.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, no, well, he was number one. I thought after he beat Spence for sure. But,
he was.
Yeah. All right. Well, on that note, guys, it's as Tony said, it's getting dark, so we better call it a night. Hey, guys, I really appreciate you both coming on. It's on sort of short notice. I only sort of decided to do this today, and love the opinions. Sorry we couldn't get to a few more comments out there, guys. I know it's a little bit different. I normally comment or reply to everyone, but we'll do that next week. And we might have to sort of make this a regular thing, guys, is catching up and talking all things Aussie boxing. There's plenty to talk about, and we'll see how we go. But Dan, thanks very much, mate. Anthony, thank you so much as well. And we'll catch us next time.
No worries, Lyndon. Always available, mate.
Thanks, fellas. See you later. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.